Hey everyone, and welcome to another meeting of the Tropical Rum Society. As always, I'm Matt, and today we're looking at another Australian rum, Master Mary Pineapple and Ginger. This one's a little bit of an unknown. I have never heard of them before, but when I was at my local First Choice Liquor, I saw this one and also their passion fruit and lime variant, and I thought, you know what, I'm gonna get a bottle of each and we'll do a review on them, see what they're like. So there we go, intro, done and dusted. Let's jump straight into learning about this because I'm sure you're keen to know what it's like as well. Now, usually we would be talking about Master Mary as a brand here, but there's actually not too much to say. They've got a bit of a backstory to the character that you can see on the label there, but I'm going to save that for the future video when we do that passion fruit and lime review, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on that. Now, doing a search for Master Mary brings up very little about the brand. They've got a few listings on Liquorland and First Choice Liquor, but that's really all the information that you can find online. They don't really seem to have like a brand website or even kind of very much about them just in terms of like people buying it. So it's either really new or it's very niche. Also, strangely, the recommended pairing from both of these websites is just seafood. I guess like any seafood, just anything that comes from the sea. That really leaves it quite open to what you can put it with. Clearly, the internet has let us down. So I guess we'll just have to go with what's on the label. From that label, I can tell you it's a 37% ABV drink that's made in Australia and it's 700 mils. That's really all it says. Also, it has another strange thing going on here where on the back you can see that there was a plastic enclosure on top. Okay, fair enough, that's not recyclable. The cork here, probably synthetic, makes sense that's not recyclable. But it says to just throw out the bottle in the trash as well. So, like, is this not made of glass? Or were they just lazy and didn't put a recycling symbol there? I don't know. It's really weird. Anyway, the last thing that we can see on the label here is that this drink was made for James Busby Fine Wines and Spirits. When we search the internet for this, again, there's not a lot of results. Really, all that shows up is First Choice Liquor, Liquorland, and Vintage Cellars. All of those companies are owned by Coles, and so I kind of get the feeling that this might be like a home brand rum that's just been fancied up with its packaging, and that really doesn't give me too much confidence on the quality of this one. Since we're already on the topic of the label, let's take a look at a little bit more of a high-level view in its appearance. The design on the front, it's pretty impressive. It's got the duality of kind of two sides of this Master Mary character here, and I'd say it's pretty well done. It's got the pineapple on there, tying it into the flavor, and overall the imagery is just really kind of cool and stands out very well against that black bottle. And speaking of that black bottle, it's very opaque, so I reckon let's pop it open, get some in the glass so we can see what the color of the liquid is. So as I said before, this does have a cork top, which is a nice little touch. Always enjoy that over a screw top. Now let's get this in this glass here and have a look. Okay, oop, definitely over-poured that one. Oh boy, that's a big pour. I was not thinking while I was doing that. So, having a look at it here, we can see it's a nice kind of straw color, which is much lighter than I was expecting. I thought it was going to be a lot more artificially brown and like colored, but it seems like they've tried to keep it relatively light in that color, but it's also got some weird orange tinge to it, which is very strange and it looks kind of unnatural. Before we have a sniff, I should mention that this is a flavoured rum, not a spiced one, which could be why they've gone for that lighter colour, but it's also probably explaining a little bit why I can smell a sickly sweet almost smell as I poured this into the glass. Alright, let's dive in. So first up, it's very strong on the pineapple, but not overpoweringly so. Poweringly. That's a difficult word for me to say. Not overpoweringly so. After giving yourself a bit of a sniff to adjust, you can pick up some ginger in there as well, so pretty accurate on that pineapple and ginger name. There's a slight tickle from the alcohol, and maybe a little bit of aniseed coming through from the base rum. Overall, it's very light, and I don't mind it, but I think my preference for sweet things and pineapples is maybe biasing me just a little bit on this one. Okay, time for the taste. Here we go. So the taste doesn't really line up with the smells that we just smelled. It's much less sweet than anticipated, and those pineapple and ginger flavors really are quite secondary to what tastes like a pretty watery rum. It's very weak and very thin in its mouthfeel, and the flavors don't really linger very long before settling into a bit of an aftertaste of a slight bit of ginger, but mostly a tingling sensation on the tongue. So aerating it a little bit does bring out a little bit more flavor, but really the flavor's just kind of dancing around, trying to come out, but just not quite making it. The primary sensation this is giving me is a warm tongue with a few fleeting moments of flavor in there. We've still got a fair bit more in the glass here, so you know what? One more taste. Yeah, really thin, really watery. Not too much to say about that. It's definitely not the worst rum that I've ever had. It's not turning me off. It just doesn't really have much to it. It really lacks in substance. Now, this is not a top shelf rum, but even for $50, I feel like this is pretty lackluster. I can see they've invested pretty heavily in the imagery and the style for Master Mary in that bottle, but that's really what you're paying for here. It's not coming through in the product. The rum tastes thin and cheap, and the smells don't match up with the flavor, which is pretty weak anyway. That being said, I was pleasantly surprised that this wasn't super dark and artificial in its color, and the smells were quite nice, which built up a bit of anticipation for the taste. It just didn't quite follow through in the end though, and the feeling and taste of this kind of solidified that idea I had earlier of this being a home brand rum that's been jazzed up with a nice bottle. Now, I'm not going to be throwing this away because you should be recycling the bottle. I don't know why they tell you to do that, but this one, it's okay. It's not terrible, but it's not got anything to it. This definitely isn't the last we're going to be seeing of Master Mary. We do have that passion fruit and lime version that's coming up, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss that one. And we'll see if that can do a little bit better in the flavor department than this one did. For now, let's polish this off, go get it on the shelf, and I'll see you in the next meeting.